This is how we took over 100,000 people from $100 in their sports betting bankroll to over $100,000 using the PlayerProps.ai app and strict bankroll management. Now, if you don't believe me, let's just take a look back to one of the many steps along the way to this great financial success story. Check it out. Hey guys, it's me, Travis, with PlayerProps.ai. We've got a little special episode for you today for the Home Run Derby. Now, at this moment in time, we don't have any Home Run Derby specific tools built on the PlayerProps.ai app, so there's nothing to pull up on screen except for the available bets. We just decided to go with FanDuel here for no particular reason besides the fact that they have a handful of different options. Of course, if your book has more options, your book has the same things, it doesn't matter. Use whatever book you want. We're going to go through things that you should be paying attention to in regards to the Home Run Derby. Recording this here at like 10 a.m. on Monday. About to head to the airport. I'm going to be gone for a good chunk of time, about a week and a half, flying all across the world for sports betting industry conferences, lending to investors and whatnot to explode the growth of PlayerProps.ai. If you are new here, welcome. If you do not have the free PlayerProps.ai app yet, shame on you. But also, go download it. Just go to PlayerProps.ai/app/app. And it'll take you directly to the download page, or just pull up your app store, search for PlayerProps.ai. Any of that stuff works. As I've shown on the bottom of the screen through all of the previous shows we've done in the last week or two, we are doing a $2,000 cash and prizes giveaway to help celebrate the app launch. It's free to enter. If you haven't done that yet, just go to the giveaways channel in our Discord. And it just has all the instructions there. Two or three steps just to get your name thrown into the hat. So you definitely want to enter that in, because by pretty much like the time, not by the time I get back, but a little bit after I get back from this week and a half all over the world tour, it's going to be almost time to do the drawings. Make sure you get your name in the hat. Okay. I'm going to say things that I think are important. And if you're like, I also think these things are important, or these other things are important, you can think whatever you want to think is important. But I'm going to try my best to set you up for the best opportunities to get yourself some money in tonight's Home Run Derby. Here we have the odds. These are the odds to win the entire thing. Some things you need to pay attention to. There are some changes with this year's Home Run Derby if you haven't paid attention to the rule changes. What it used to be in the past, even as early as last year, the entire thing would be a bracket. So let's say player A and player B are grouped up against each other in the first round. Whoever has the most home runs out of that pairing advances. And what that screwed up is if somebody goes for like 30 bombs and then their opponent goes for 29, but then every other match in the first round is like 18, 19, 21, 22, whatever, the player that had 29 home runs in the first round is eliminated just because the system's paired them up with somebody else who just did one more than them. So what they're doing this year that is different is there's no bracket for the first round. It's essentially the top 4 home run totals advance to the next round. So there's no getting screwed over by who you get matched up against. So all 8 players, there's 8 players in the Derby tonight, the top 4 of them are going to advance. So that's the first change. Another thing that is different is each round now has a pitch limit. How many balls the player is able to see before the round's over with. And that number dwindles down as you get to the final round. I believe it's like 43 pitches in the first round and all the way to the last round. It's somewhere around like 27. Don't quote me on that, but that's I feel like it's a pretty solid ballpark number. But yeah, so the last round, each player is going to have 27 pitches. So if you remember the previous rounds, they're, if they don't like the ball, they can just kind of take it and then wait for something to be good. You can still take it this year, but it's going to count against you. You only have a certain amount of pitches to take. So that's something else to pay attention to as well. Stats that are important with the Home Run Derby. You need to pay attention to exit velocity. If you're probably saying, what is exit velocity? That's how fast the ball moves off the bat. So if somebody crushes a home run, how fast did that ball launch off of the bat? So exit velocity is important because this is a home run derby, and you're trying to have the higher exit velocity, the more likely the hit is to be a home run. Something else to pay attention to is, okay, so we just covered exit velocity, trying to remember all the important things. The ballpark where the players are at. If you're at a homer-friendly ballpark that you play, let's say we don't have any Colorado Rockies players, but let's say we have a Colorado Rockies player they have the easiest home run park, one of the easiest home run parks. So if they have like 35 home runs at the All-Star break, and half of those are at their ballpark, you can't necessarily count the fact that they are having 35 home runs in general. So what I'm trying to say is the ballparks that they got the home runs in, and the distance of those home runs. Distance is also important. Average distance of home runs is also important. If the player, there's something called a sure thing, surefire home run. There's some other terms it's called. What that means is no matter what ballpark that player hit the home run in, it would have definitely been a home run in any ballpark. And those are other things to pay attention to as well. So with those things in mind, let's go through some interesting facts and some numbers. Got a lot of things pulled up here on my screen. Okay. The top odds is plus 280, Pete Alonso, the polar bear. He's up here solely because he's won this twice. In regards to his current metrics, he's not. If they just picked people based on the metrics, based on the numbers I just mentioned, he would not be on top. He's on top because he's won this before, and people usually bet like, oh, Pete, the polar bear, he's won this twice, I'm going to bet on him. And just in case he wins again, the books don't want to pay that much money, which is why they put him at the top. So let's figure out who we should be betting on to win the home run derby, and also we can go through all these other different kind of bets they have for the derby as well. But let's just focus on this for right now. I know I preach bankroll management, the 20-80-20 rule. In the derby, you're only focusing on that last 20. Do not allocate any of your safer 80% as part of the 20-80-20 rule to the home run derby. There's summer league games, I think, tonight. There's no WNBA, there's no MLB, so there's nothing really that that our tools in the app can show. It's just the home run derby and then the NBA summer league and non-US sports, I'm sure, all over the place as well. Okay, so the first thing we want to look at is exit velocity for this season. So I will tell you who's on top. Out of these 8 players we have here on the screen, Gunnar Henderson has the highest average exit velocity. His highest average exit velocity is 93.8 miles an hour. His highest he's hit over this season is 113.1 miles per hour. So, regarding that stat, he's number 1. If you're like, okay, Travis, who's number 2? Number 2 is Mr. Marcell Ozuna. He is slightly right behind him. So Gunnar's average is 93.8. Ozuna is 93.4, so super close. Ozuna has a higher max. He's actually had a 114.6. So if you could take all of his hits over the course of the season, his fastest one has been faster than Henderson. And if we're paying attention to number 3, on the average, Bobby Witt Jr. is the 3rd on the average. His average is 92.6, but he has the highest max exit velocity this season. So these are things to pay attention to. Okay, so if we're just focusing on who hits the ball the hardest, in regards to the average over the course of the season, we have Gunnar, Ozuna, and Witt. If we're looking at who's hit the ball the hardest, period, even if it's just one hit, who's hit the hardest ball out of all of these players, Bobby Witt with 116.9. He has the strongest one. So those are 3 players as well. There's nothing I'm going to be saying on the rest of the show that says bet plus 280 Pete Alonso to win. Nobody wants to bet the favorite, and he also isn't his numbers hasn't been as good. Now, when I say numbers, I mean just the metrics. In terms of home run numbers, that doesn't mean anything. If you're betting on the home run derby based on who has the most home runs at this point of the season, do not worry about that, because if you're solely looking at that, again, the ballpark that they play in matters. The ballpark they hit the home runs in matters. Last year, Vlad won, and he only had, I think, 13. He had a relatively low number before the home run derby, and he won the whole thing. So that's not a huge. How many home runs he had is not a huge deal. I had something for Jose Ramirez as well. Let me see if I can find it in my notes here on my phone. Where's Jose Ramirez? There's something I had him circled for. Hold on. So we already talked about those three. There's a fourth player out of all 8. Okay, so you remember what I said before about the ballpark they hit the home runs in? So if they have like 1 million home runs, yeah, but what park did they hit them in? Jose Ramirez here at the break, as you see on the screen, he's plus 1,500 to win the home run derby. He has 23 home runs right now, which is third out of everybody on the list. And all 23 of them would also be a home run at this exact park that they are having the home run derby in. So I did mention it matters what park they're in. But if you take the, like if you hit it to left field, center field, right field home run, and the distance, all 23 of his home runs would have been a home run at this park. There's only one other player that if you took the metrics of their home runs, they would have more home runs in this park tonight than Jose Ramirez, and that's Marcell Ozuna. So Marcel's got the highest home runs that would have been home runs here at Globe Life, and then Ramirez has number 2. In terms of the numbers we just went over on the average exit velocity and the max exit velocity, I did mention that Bobby Witt Jr. out of this entire field is number 1. In terms of who's number 2 that we didn't cover yet, Jose Ramirez actually has the second highest, not average, the second highest max exit velocity. So out of everybody that's crushed the ball out of these 8, Bobby Witt has the single fastest exit velocity, and then Jose Ramirez is number 2. So those are the 4 people you should be focusing on, and then we're going to dwindle things down a little bit if we can. Marcell Ozuna, Bobby Witt Jr., Marcell Ozuna, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., and Jose Ramirez. So okay, there's 4 people, so we're not going to focus too much on the other 4. I'm extremely confident, based on those numbers, one of those 4 is going to win this derby. There's some other things you can play around with here. So the home run derby exacta, if you're not sure what that means, so if it says Gunnar Henderson over Marcell Ozuna, that means the final, which is only 2 people, once they get down to the final is going to be Gunnar Henderson having more home runs than Marcell Ozuna. So that's what that means. So if you choose one of these options, which have a lot crazier odds, you can get, a nice payout. But you have to not only pick the finalist, both of the finalists, but who wins out of both of the finalists. So that's what the home run derby exacta is here. And they have every potential combination. You can say who's going to make the semifinals, and if semifinals is the top 4, we already gave you the my 4 favorite. Jose Ramirez is actually plus odds to be in the final 4. I don't hate that necessarily. Pete Alonso's the favorite, of course, because again, past wins. This is kind of similar to the exacta up here. This says to name the finalist. So it's almost the same thing. Who is going to be in the final round? It doesn't matter who wins. So if you do Pete Alonso and Marcell Ozuna, Pete wins, you hit. Ozuna wins, you hit. But both of these names have to be in the final. Here, this is something else. Distance of the longest home run hit. So I think, hold on. The longest home run hit right now, so far this season, regardless of ballpark, is Ohtani. This is just in general. Ohtani is 476. So out of all of the home runs hit, Ohtani has the farthest distance out of any single home run hit this season. And this has given you a 4 foot advantage here. And it's even odds on both sides. It's like minus 112, minus 112. So if I'm favoring one of these sides on this bet, I would go under because no single player this entire season has hit anything over. Granted, these are lobs essentially, where they're crushing. The pitches are easy. That's what I'm trying to say. But still, for the course of the season, nobody has gotten over 476. And out of the people that in this field, the farthest one has been Bobby Witt Jr. at 468. So that is what, a 12.5 yard difference. Another bet here. Excuse me. Player to hit the longest home run. Now, I just mentioned the farthest home run this season out of these players in the field, Bobby Witt Jr. The fastest exit velocity out of any player in this field, Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr., because of those two things, is why he's here at plus 260. So I don't necessarily hate this as well, but if you mention what I said earlier, the second highest single hit max velocity is Jose Ramirez at plus 1600. His distance-wise on the season, let me see his longest single home run. Jose Ramirez. Give me a second here. Guardians. The longest home run he's hit this season is 436, which is why he's at plus 1600 odds. But again, if you want to just play on exit velocity there for the longest home run, you can. But of course, Bobby Witt Jr. has the metrics where he's probably going to hit the hardest home run. This is where Jose Ramirez comes into play. Player to hit a home run with the highest exit velocity. Bobby Witt Jr. is the fastest hitter, or already the highest exit velocity over the course of the season, plus 390. I don't know why Pete Alonso's favorite here, but Bobby Witt Jr., that's a good bet, plus 390. But also, Jose Ramirez, he already has the second highest exit velocity of any hit this season. Right there, 550. I like that as well. So 390, 550, I like that. Again, you don't need to be betting every single one of these, and you're not betting more than 20% of your 20%. I do not want to see people complaining that, hey, like somebody you didn't say on the show didn't hit, and you just lost $1,000. Depending on your bankroll. I mean, if $1,000 is 20% of 20% of your bankroll, then yeah, it's fine. But if you're not listening to bankroll management, you're never going to win long term. And that's what I preach every single day to you guys, 7 days a week in the Discord and on the show. If you don't practice bankroll management, you will never be a successful bettor. So if you don't do it, you're simply saying, yeah, I don't really care. I like losing money. What other bets do we have here? Total home runs, that doesn't matter to me. I don't care about that. That's a coin flip. First swing results. Is their first swing going to be a home run? No. First round home runs. You can play with that if you want to, but I don't really like that too much. And we already looked at this. Who's going to make the semifinal? Who's going to make the final four? Or are they going to make the final four? Yes or no? So if you don't think that Garcia is going to be the final four, so again, remember, the rules are changed this year. It's all 8 are doing it. Whoever has the most home runs, the four people have the most home runs, they advance to the final four, which is the semifinal. So if you don't think Garcia is going to go to the final four, it's a plus 138 bet. And remember, these are players that we didn't necessarily harp on during the first 15 minutes of the show. So you can pay attention to this if you're really like, okay, I think. Hold on? Let me see if you can. Can you parlay these on FanDuel? No, you can't parlay these. I was like, that would have been nice. But those aren't really good payouts. So I hope that this chit chat information helped you understand more things you should be looking at, things you should be considering. So I think the best all-around bet is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. And then the best, I guess you can call it a long shot. The best long shot, because it's plus 1,500, I'd probably say is Jose Ramirez. I think that's who I'm going with. Again, Marcell Ozuna, Gunnar Henderson, they're both okay as well. If you just want to put a little bit on each, but I think that's what I'm going with. You will not see a show from me. You might see some YouTube shorts, some TikToks, if you will, while I'm going across the country for these conferences here in the next week and a half. And yeah, but I'm not going to be this where I'm at right now is not where I'm going to be, so I'm not going to have this set up and everything. But I'm going to try to put some video content out, but they're probably going to be YouTube shorts at best. So just make sure that you're watching the previous videos I've done, all the educational ones on what you should and shouldn't be doing, and then all of the daily shows which teach you how to use the app. So during this week and a half that I'm not going to be creating these kind of long-form video content that you already know how to apply yourself. You hop in the Discord with the other 14,000 people, and after you sync your account, just communicate with each other, ask questions, leave feedback, whatever you want to do. And yeah, just make sure you're applying yourself and using what I'm teaching you, because that's the whole point of these shows. Good luck today with the All-Star Home Run Derby. I actually think I'll be on a plane during it. I'll be on a flight, so I don't even know if I'll be able to watch it on the flight. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'll see the finale when we end. But good luck, guys, and yeah, we'll see you when we get back from our crazy adventure, going to Boston and Amsterdam and a bunch of places for all these conferences. It's gonna be fun. We'll see when we see you. Good luck.